All right. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates, esteemed partners, colleagues, friends. Excuse me. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to this official side event of the 2026 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development by Do the Dream Youth Development Initiative. It's a regional committee in Africa, a committee of the Conference of NGOs in Consultative Relationship with the United Nations, Alliance of Social Transformers for Sustainable Development. I am Ola Oluyinka. I'm a co-founder, Girls and Energy Project, and it is my honor to serve as the moderator and the chair for today's convening. We're deeply grateful to the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs for granting us this opportunity, this important platform to amplify the voice and the vision of the Girls in Energy Project within the LPF process. This opportunity is not only a recognition of our work, but a reflection of a growing global commitment to inclusive, locally driven solutions that advance the sustainable development goals. We are gathered here today for a clear and urgent reason, which is to move beyond commitment and into coordinated, actionable progress. Now, under the theme, Powering Progress Through Local Action, this session presents the Girls in Energy Project as more than an initiative. It is a practical framework, an intersectionality as economy approach that demonstrates how investment in girls at the grassroots level simultaneously advance SDGs 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 17. This is about recognizing girls, women not as beneficiaries, but as active agents of change, leaders, innovators, and contributors to sustainable energy system, resilient communities, and inclusive economies. It is about understanding that when we equip with access, skills, and opportunity in energy and development spaces, we are not addressing a single issue. We are unlocking multiple development outcomes all at once. The Girls in Energy Project embodies what we call an asset of now approach. It challenges the tendencies to view young people, especially girls in the global south, as future potential. Instead, it positions them as present-day assets, capable, ready, and essential to solving today's most pressing challenges. Today's conversation brings together diverse voices from across regions and sectors, policy actors, practitioners, youth leaders, and development partners to share insights and experiences and pathways for scaling this model. We aim to highlight how localized action, when properly supported and connected, can drive global transformation. So as we engage in this dialogue, I encourage us to remain focused on impact. Let us ask, how do we strengthen partnership? How do we ensure financing reaches grassroots innovators? And how do we create systems that sustains and scale what is already working? In closing, this convening is not an endpoint. It is a catalyst, a moment to collectively commit to turning the switch of the Girls in Energy Project across the global south so that more communities are lit, more opportunities are created, and more futures are shaped. Because when we empower girls in energy, we're not only empowering homes, we're empowering progress, equity, and the future of our world. Thank you. I look forward to a rich and productive discussion. And with that said, I would pass it over to, with an opening statement, the founder of Do the Dream Youth Development Initiative, in the person of Adebusiyi Olumadewa.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, colleagues from the United Nations systems, partners from private sectors,
Microphone.
and industry, friends joining us in this room virtually, and those who encounter this message later. Good day and welcome. I am Adebusiyi Olutayo Olumadewa. I speak to you today as the founder of Do the Dream Youth Development Initiative and as the lead strategist of the Girls in Energy project for the Global South, a project that begins in Nigeria but does not end in Nigeria. We are here at the High Level Political Forum 2026 to make one thing plain. Girls are not side issue in the energy transition. They are the transition and local action when they're designed with precision become global infrastructure. This moment did not appear overnight. It was built session by session, argument by argument. At the 78th Commission of the Status of Women, we made the case that gender equality is an economic proposition, not a charitable one. At the 11th Science, Technology and Innovations Forum, we pressed further that innovation without inclusion is innovation half-built. And across numerous local actions in classroom, communities, industrial colleges, we tested a simple hypothesis that when you place a girl in the center of an energy system, you do not just change a life, you change the system's productivities, resilience, and reach. Today, that hypothesis has become architecture. We call it intersectionality as an economy. It's a framework for SDG 6, clean water SDG 7, affordable and clean energy SDG 9, industry and innovation SDG 11, sustainable cities SDG 17, partnership. 5 goals, 1 girl, 1 switch. The Girls in Energy project rests on 3 pillars. And as I ask that you hold all this in mind, because they are designed to work in one system, not these programs. First, the Girls in Energy Village, anchored in Nigeria. This is the woman pillar. It carries 5 components: career pathways, both linear and non-linear, so that a girl's route into the energy sector is not limited to one narrow ladder, but reflects the many real ways people actually enter and rise in the industry. Community development, embedding energy literacy opportunities where girls actually live. Conferences for convening negotiations and voice. Camps for immersive hands-on technical exposure and competitions for talent identification and healthy ambition. This is the village where a girl becomes an engineer, a technician, a policy analyst, and a founder. Second, the Girls in Energy Funds. The financial pillar, this is blended finance built with intentions, capital structure to de-risk investment in girl-inclusive energy enterprise, so that the good intentions convert into bankable projects and bankable projects convert into scaled impact. Third, the Girls in Energy Village, the Girls in Energy Industrial Village. The industrial pillar extending our footprint into Maryland, United States, and beyond. This is where the village meets every industry: critical minerals, industrial decarbonization, green hydrogen, and smart energy. This is not symbolic participation. This is girl and woman positioned inside the hardest, most consequential part of energy transition, the part that will define whether the world meets its climate and industrial targets at all. To every individual, every private sector actor, every industrial energy firm, every intergovernmental organization in this room, this is not a request for charity. It's an invitation into economy of now. The economy of today needs a workforce for industry that did not exist at a scale a decade ago. Hydrogen, critical mineral processing, decarbonization engineering. Half of these available talent pools has been systematically underdeveloped, connecting that it's not a virtue, it's efficiency. The opportunity of tomorrow belongs to whoever builds the pipeline first. Every partner who invests in the girls in energy ecosystem today secures preferential access to trained, loyal, mission-aligned talent and supply chain for the next 20 years. At the sustainable future, the one of all SDG commitment points toward simply cannot be built without this. You cannot decarbonize an industry while excluding the population from its workforce and its ownership structure. The math does not close. Girls in Energy project is how it closes it. To member states present, I offer three reasons to adopt Girls in Energy ecosystem as national economic strategy, not merely social policy. One, workforce social security. Nations that build inclusive energy talent pipeline we now face the skill shortage that will cripple slower moving economies as the hydrogen and critical minerals races intensify. Two, investment magnetism. Blended finance, ESG aligned capitals, and development partners are actively searching for bankable, girl-centered, industrial anchored vehicle. A state that owns the ecosystem becomes a preferred destination for exactly the capital. Three, SDG delivery at speed. No single national program touches SDG 6, 7, 9, 11, 17 simultaneously the way the ecosystem does. Adopting it is the fastest, most cost-efficient route to reporting real, measurable progress across the 5 goals at once. So let me close where every good energy system must close, at the point of connection. To every member state, every IGOs, every business sector and civil society organization, every UN agencies, every private sector leader, every permanent mission in this room, joining us later. Those who will meet this message in days ahead, you are welcome, not as a spectator, but as a co-owner of what comes next. The Girls in Energy village is built. The fund has structuring capital. The industrial village is under construction. What remains is the connection, your connection. It's time to turn on the switch, not later, now. And let this switch first thrown in the global south. Power progress for the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that opening statement. And with that, we're going to transition into some of the core of our discussions today. We have our speakers here, and I'm going to move on to introducing a distinguished personality and speaker. Peter Preziosis, sitting on my left here, is the president of the Conference of Non-Governmental Organization in Consultative Relationship with the United States, also known as Congo. Congo is a global society organization with a 78-year legacy of advancing the voice and the participation of NGOs, within the United Nations system. He also serves as the President and Chief Executive Officer of True Merit, where he leads efforts to strengthen the global health workforce through innovation, professional mobility, quality assurance, and system-level solutions for nurses and other healthcare professionals worldwide. Through his leadership at True Merit, Dr. Preziosis has guided the organization's evolutions from CGFNS International into a broader global institution that is dedicated to health systems strengthening, workforce development, research, and advocacy. His work reflects a deep commitment to ensuring that health professionals are supported to practice at the highest level of their training and competence, while advancing more equitable and sustainable workforce systems across countries and regions. So everyone, please help me welcome Peter Preziosis.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Turn this on. Thank you very much. And thanks to Do the Dream for the invitation. Do the Dream is one of our board members on Congo. So thank you very much and welcome everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here at the HLPF 2026 event at a very pivotal moment. Across the world, we see geopolitical tensions rising, trust in institutions being tested, and questions being raised about the future of multilateralism and international cooperation. Yet, when I meet young people, I'm reminded that hope remains one of the most powerful, renewable resources we possess. And that brings me to the importance of the Girls in Energy Project. Imagine a young girl growing up in a community where electricity is unreliable, educational opportunities are limited, and careers in science or engineering seem beyond reach. Traditionally, she might have been expected to adapt to those circumstances. Instead, through initiatives like Girls in Energy, she learns how to install solar technology, understand clean energy systems, build entrepreneurial skills, and become an advocate for change in her community. She moves from being affected by the energy transition to helping lead it. That is not simply a success story, that is sustainable development in action, which is what we're all about at this event, talking about the SDGs. I want to recognize the tremendous leadership of the founders Olatayo and Ola and the team at Do the Dream Youth Development Initiative for creating and advancing this important work. Their vision demonstrates that local action, when rooted in community needs and driven by youth leadership, can produce solutions with global relevance. The Girls in Energy Project, and you heard from both Olatayo and Ola, directly advances SDG 7 on affordable and clean energy by preparing girls and young women to participate in the clean energy transition. Advances SDG 9 on industry, innovation, and infrastructure by investing in STEM education, technical skills, entrepreneurship, and innovation. It contributes to SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities by helping communities build more resilient and inclusive energy systems. And it embodies SDG 17 on partnerships for the goals through collaboration among civil society, government, educational institutions, communities, and the private sector. But perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that sustainable development is ultimately about people. It is about unlocking human potential. And that is where I believe civil society has a critical role to play. Too often, extraordinary local initiatives struggle to gain visibility, connect with partners, access resources, or translate their impact into broader system changes. Community stories can disappear after an event like this. important lessons can remain isolated. Organizations can have access to global forums, but lack the preparation, networks, or infrastructure needed to maximize their influence. That is one reason why Congo is proud to use this high-level political forum as the soft launch of the Congo Learning Institute and the Civil Society Media Desk. And Rebecca Irby here is chairing that initiative, one of the Congo board members. The Institute is being developed as a civil society learning and impact platform that will help NGOs, youth leaders, community storytellers, and community organizations strengthen their skills, navigate the UN ecosystem, build partnerships, and move their work toward greater measurable impact. The Civil Society Media Desk will help ensure that important stories like Girls and Energy do not disappear when a conference ends. It will help document, amplify, and preserve community-led solutions so they can help inspire learning, collaboration, replication, and investment around the world. We're partnering with the United Methodist Church, so you can go to the Civil Society Media Desk on the 7th floor at the Church Center across the street from here, and you can visit with Rebecca and her team as they are soft launching that media desk. In many ways, Girls in Energy represents exactly the future we should be building. A future where girls are not merely beneficiaries of development, but architects of it. A future where local innovation drives global progress, a future where partnerships overcome division, and a future where civil society remains a vital force for cooperation, peace, human dignity, and sustainable development. In challenging times, it is easy to focus on what is not working. Today, let's focus on what is possible. Because when we invest in girls, empower communities, strengthen partnerships, and share stories of success, we do more than advance individual SDGs. We strengthen hope itself, and that may be the most important energy source of all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. Thank you, Dr. Peter Preciosis. That was, thank you for those insights highlighted in those remarks. Girls in Energy represent the future we should be building. I wanted to say it one more time. Thank you for those commentary. We appreciate it. And then moving on, we're going to invite another distinguished individual speaker who has been very, very instrumental in this work in so many different perspectives. I'm now going to invite Samantha M. Constance. Samantha Constance is a senior gender specialist with the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program, the ESMAP, at the World Bank Group, where she advances gender equality and women's economic empowerment across the clean energy value chain. Her work sits at the intersection of energy, poverty reduction, social protection, and social inclusion, with a focus on making energy access and decarbonization efforts more inclusive, equitable, and responsive to the needs of women and the underserved communities. Energy Briefs of 2025, Power in Perseverance, are studies we can always reference, understanding the journey of women entrepreneurs in Yemen, 2024, More and Better Jobs in Energy for Women in MENA, 2022, and Gender in Energy Interventions in Fragile and Conflict States, 2020. Prior to our work at the World Bank Group, Samantha served as Associate Director at the Wolfersam Center for Development at the Brookings Institute. She holds an MA in International Affairs with a focus on Middle East and North Africa cooperative and regional studies from the American University in Washington, D.C., which is where I'm from. Without further ado, please help me welcome Samantha Constant for her remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Ola, and thank you, Adubasi, for this opportunity to join the distinguished panel. I'm truly honored to offer remarks for an initiative as important as the Girls in Energy Project, one that encourages the next generation of girls to dream boldly about their future, while also recognizing that those dreams need support, they also need opportunity, and they need the right systems around them to become possible. As Ola mentioned, my name is Samantha Constant. I'm a senior gender specialist with the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program, SMAP, at the World Bank Group. Just in case you want to know a little bit about SMAP, we support countries in deploying sustainable energy solutions to boost economic growth and reduce poverty. So I want to start with a number that has stayed with me, 135 years. Recent global estimates show that at the current pace, full gender parity remains more than a century away. That's 5 generations too slow. For me, that number is a wake-up call. It reminds us that equality will not happen fast enough on its own, and that waiting is not an option. If we want more women in the energy sector and more women leading companies, we need to start much earlier, and we need to start with girls. This is how we think about women's economic empowerment in the energy sector at SMAP. It's not only the right thing to do, it's smart economics. And you may be familiar with some of the data, but I'm going to share a couple with you. When women have equal access to skills and jobs and leadership, economies grows, and the energy sector itself actually benefits. So we have data that shows that closing the gender gap in male and female employment rates could raise global GDP and income per capita by more than 20%. We also have data that shows that when companies include more women in governance leadership, they tend to outperform those that don't by 25%. That's a significant number. Yet despite this evidence, the gap between women's and men's labor force participation globally, if you look at it over the past decades, it's pretty much the same, around more than 24 percentage points, the gap. I mean, that's a pretty big gap. So when it comes to our sector, the difference is even more stark, with women's economic participation representing only 1/5 of the energy workforce globally. And their share in leadership is even lower than that. So as countries invest in clean energy, they will need a larger and more diverse talent pool. This means we cannot wait until young women are already looking for jobs. We have to build the pipeline earlier. And the thing is, it's not just about hard infrastructure, right? So it's not just about schools and grids and roads. It's also about soft infrastructure that helps people use these systems. So it's the skills, the confidence, the networks, the mentorship. This matters because, in many ways, girls are not making choices in silo, right? So social norms, there's a lot of data out there that shows that social norms shape how girls are encouraged, what girls are encouraged to study, what they're expected to work on, how they're encouraged to lead. And so our vision on women and girls in SMAP is very much in line with the Girl in Energy project in 3 important ways: by advancing homegrown solutions, supporting local action, and promoting sustainable investments that can last beyond a single intervention. And across countries, and we have some examples that we can share during the discussion, we see women in energy networks, mentorship programs, internships, STEM outreach. I mean, many of you may be familiar with these types of initiatives with utilities and training institutions. And these types of activities are really critical to kind of help build that ecosystem. And so if I'm going to leave you with 3 messages, they're the following. First, starting early. So girls need exposure to STEM skills, leadership, and role models before their career pathways begin to narrow. Second, invest in soft infrastructure and scale that up. So confidence, mentorship, network, safety, they're just as important as having a diploma. That's how we see it. Third, work collectively and focus on homegrown solutions. Families, schools, communities, and civil society are not just an add-on. They are at the heart and at the center of this work. So when I think about the topic of boosting the role of women and girls in energy, I think about urgency, but I also think about possibility. And we need to choose to invest differently. We need to invest earlier, more intentionally, and closer to the communities where girls and futures are shaped. And this was mentioned in the earlier remarks. And if we do that, we do more than just encourage girls to dream. We also help make those dreams possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. That was insightful. So moving on the conversation, here we're going to bring on, for her remarks also, another distinguished partner here in this work. For remarks, want to welcome an ambassador. Sorry, I just kind of lost my train of thought there for a minute. HE Ambassador, Dr. Andries Bass, sitting to my left. Andries Bass is a PhD EDP holder, is an internationally recognized diplomat, peace builder, public policy scholar, and human rights advocate with nearly 3 decades of leadership, public service, and international engagement. She serves as the founder and chairwoman of the Institute of Public Policy and Diplomacy Research, the president of the Humanitarian Focus Foundation, and the special envoy of the International Diplomacy Alliance. Throughout her distinguished career, Dr. Bass has trained and mentored leaders from more than 57 countries in diplomacy and peace building, conflict resolution, negotiation, human rights, and global leadership. Her work has greatly contributed to elevating diplomacy and beyond a title or protocol function, promoting it as a strategic instrument for trust building, dialogue, cooperation, and sustainable solutions to global challenges. Dr. Bass is a creator of the Peace Practitioner Framework, an innovative professional model that advances a practical approach to peace building through tolerance, mediation, negotiation, cultural understanding, preventive diplomacy, and conflict transformation. The framework equips leaders with the skills necessary to facilitate dialogue, assess peace and security conditions, prevent escalation, and negotiate durable peace agreement at the local, national, and international level. As a recognized global peace ambassador, her work emphasizes the connections between peace, governance, economic development, and human dignity. Her guiding philosophy is, peace is not merely the absence of war. Peace is the foundation of economic growth, social progress, institutional stability, and human development. When peace thrives, nations prosper. So please welcome Dr. Andries Bass for her remarks.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and especially my people, the youth. When we speak about economy, development, we usually discuss investment, infrastructure, technology, trade, and innovation. But today I want to suggest something different. Peace is the world's most overlooked economic access. Peace is not simply the absence of war. Peace is productive. Peace creates jobs. Peace attracts investment. Peace allows children to stay in school. Peace gives entrepreneurs the confidence to build business. Peace reduces the cost of security and increases the return on development. Imagine 2 communities. Both receive the same investment, I can take two different countries. I will take Haiti, and I will take Albania, which I just do a peace assessment in Albania. Both countries can receive the same amount of money, but our experiences will be different. Why? Because Albania is a more peaceful agreement receiving countries, where Haiti is in the conflict country. Same amount of money, but different result. The order of dialogue, social cohesion, and accountability leadership. Which community you think will be progress faster? The one with conflicts all the time, with no accountability, or the one who doesn't have any conflict, who's a new country who just have its independence in 1999, but is received and listened with accountability? The answer is obvious. Peace produces economic confidence. Investment creates opportunity. Opportunity creates strength. And peace starts with the foundation of all. That is the virtuous circle we must intentionally create. Foot long, the international community has treated peace building as a social expense. I believe is one of the smartest economic investment a nation can make. Every dollar invested in prevention saves government from spending many more dollars responding to conflict. We're building infrastructure, supporting displaced population, and restoring damaged economies. That is why local action matters. National peace begins in local communities. Economic resilience began in local communities. Sustainable development began in local communities. If we want to achieve the sustainable development goal, which we don't have that much, the thing that make me sad, each time I'm looking at the SDG, the last person I saw was in a wheelchair. When we do the assessment in Brazil, it was from age of 9 to 96. We got few years left. The progress is not that great. Why? Because instead of to make it as a fundamental, we make it as a celebrity names. SDG become like more celebrity than to be a local action. There are a lot of people who still doesn't know what the SDG means. And some of you know what the SDG means. You don't know the fact, you don't know the target. It's like we don't know nothing. How we can understand a program for us, by us, without understanding it? It's the same like for peace. We talk about peace, but we don't even understand peace. I encourage especially the youth every day you wake up and ask what peace is for me. Is my development. Is my future. Did I have peace on me? Because you cannot give what you don't have. If you want to achieve the sustainable development goal, then every municipality should have a local peace strategy alongside its economic development strategy. We just started that in Mexico because we have a program they call GISL, is Global Youth Sustainability and Impact Leaders. We work with the youth that can understand how government work, how policy work, the work of the UN. That's the way they can bridge it together. And another thing, I don't like people to say, the youth is the future. You don't have a future if you don't have a present, because the future is right now with the youth who's now. That means investing in women entrepreneurs, empower youth leaders, strengthen local governance, creating dialogue platforms, and teaching conflict resolution in school. Those are not social programs. They are economy policy. My recommendation, I leave you with 4 recommendations, especially for the youth who's international global affairs, who want to be a diplomat. First, work with your government, whichever government you're working at. Try to be too personal, because it's not about you. It's about the country you want to defend. Because sometimes we forget what we try to do. Instead to help to have the country, we take it personal. If you take it personal, you will not reach nowhere. First, government should recognize peace building as economy investment, not simply as a humanitarian investment, because that's what we've been doing. We wait for the war and we start sending stuff instead of to start training before it's happened. Second, development budget should include preventive diplomacy, mediation and social cohesion, a measurable investment in economic resilience. Third, every city should establish local peace and development council that bring together government, business, women, organization, youth, and civil society to identify and solve local challenges before they become crises. Fourth, we must measure not only by GDP, but also by the strength of trust, inclusion, institutional resilience, and social cohesion. Because these are the foundation upon sustainable economy are built. I will conclude with one thought. The strongest economy is not the one that recovers faster from conflict. It is the one that prevents conflict from happening in the first place. Peace is not charity. Peace is not idealism. Peace is a smart economy. And if we truly want the power progress to local action, then we must begin by investing in the youth and the most valuable infrastructure any nation can build, trust. Trust the youth because they are capable. Because where trust grows, peace follows. Where peace exists, prosperity becomes possible, economy grows. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bass. Thank you, Dr. Bass. Thank you for those remarks. Peace creates opportunity. Opportunity creates mobility, and it creates local action. So thank you for those remarks. In helping us further this conversation, as you know, today, we're focusing on powering progress through local action, the Girls in Energy Project as an intersectionality. I'm going to invite Anita Thomas, just to give you a little bit about Anita Thomas. Anita Thomas is the main UN representative for women, First International Fund at the UN, which is an NGO in ECOSOC, consultative status that provides grants for the economic empowerment of women and girls globally. In 2025, she was elected for a 4th term as chair of the NGO Committee on Financing for Development, a substantive committee of the Conference of NGOs, which is Congo. In this role, she provides thought leadership to advance the committee's advocacy priorities, liaises with relevant UN agencies and member states, and leads the implementation of the committee's program initiatives and annual strategic plan. Her professional experience includes over 20 years of international advocacy, management roles with the Conference of NGOs and the Sam Schmidt Paralysis Foundation, and consulting role in project management, grant management, and finance. She spearheaded the establishment of the NGO coalition to end violence and harassment in the world of work in 2019 under the auspices of 5 New York-based NGO committees on financing for development, the status of women, social development and migration, and the Committee to Stop Trafficking in Persons to advance the ratification and implementation of ILO Convention 190. She serves as the coalition convener and liaison to the ILO office in New York, guiding its advocacy, strategy, and coordination with relevant UN agencies and stakeholders. A recognized authority on global financial reform, she was appointed to the Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group for 2024 UN Partnership Forum, and recently published her strategic analysis, Reforming a Fractured Global Financial System, FFD4 and WSSD2, to build a just future for people, planet, and prosperity in the International Journal of Community and Social Development. She holds an MS in Finance from the Simon School of Business, University of Rochester, an MPAP from the Bluestein School of Public Policy, Rogers University, and an MA in Economics from Madras Christian College, India. She's a fellow of Egerton Institute of Politics at Rogers University. Please welcome Anita Thomas. It's okay, we love it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the Dream Youth Development Initiative at Adubusio. Thank you so much. I presented at one of your sessions earlier I think it was last year. I always appreciate the conversations you have and this specific focus on girls, because I used to represent the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts for 10 years at the UN, and so we did extensive work in the space, educating young girls in the space of, advancing in the STEM field, and so it's really powerful to see that you are, the work that you're doing in this HLPF with regard to this. So I'm deeply honored and thankful to be in this space. So just to set the context, when I speak, I'm going to bring in the aspect of the financing for development space, Women First International Fund, the work that we do, ILO Convention 190, and so forth, because I think there's so much intersectionality in the work that we do that we really should not operate in a silo. And we need to really, if we're talking about gender disaggregated data, we need to look at it from all angles and how can we mainstream it across the various areas that we're talking about instead of using it as a siloed approach to focus on gender disaggregated data for energy. Why can't we we are talking about in the space of financial inclusion from the Committee on from our work, and I know World Bank is doing a lot of data analysis in this space, so why can't we have cross-sectional analysis of gender disaggregated data so we talk about every issue rather than just focusing on one area. But just coming to the topic for today's conversation, around the world, investment in clean energy are reaching unprecedented levels, as we all know. The International Energy Agency estimates that global energy investments will reach a record of US $3.3 trillion in 2020, or in 2025 it reached that, with approximately $2.2 trillion, twice the amount invested in fossil fuels, flowing to clean energy technologies, including renewables, electricity grid storage, nuclear energy, energy efficiency, and electrification. Yet a recent global stock taking by the Climate Policy Initiative found that only about 22% of climate blended finance transactions intentionally incorporated gender responsive objectives, and in the energy sections, the proportions are much fewer, right? Much lower. So that's a point for us to consider. The challenge before us, therefore, is not simply mobilizing more finance. I say it because wearing my hat on financing for development, it is mobilizing finance differently. As a recent Forbes article observed, what is holding women back in the energy sector is not a lack of talent. It is a lack of opportunity in many cases. Persistent barriers to finance, skills, development, leadership opportunities, and inclusive workplace cultures. A workplace culture that is free from violence and harassment, when in a space where it is predominantly men working in the space of energy, how can women enter the space safely, right? And so all this continue to limit women and girls' full participation in the clean energy economy. So this disconnect between growing investment and unequal participation underscores why the Compromiso de Sevilla, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Financing for Development process. Out of the Financing for Development conference that happened in Sevilla last year, it adopted the Compromiso de Sevilla. Something for all of you to look at, young people who are in the room. If you're not familiar with it, please take a look at it. And it provides such an important framework for today's discussion. Right? The Compromiso reaffirms that gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls are essential to sustainable development. It commits to advancing women's economic empowerment through improved access to finance, education, skills, technology, entrepreneurship, and decent work, while mainstreaming gender perspective across Financing for Development agenda. The roadmap is already there, so we just need to take a look at it and make sure that it gets implemented. Governments are committed to this. Let's call government accountable to make sure the commitments they made gets implemented. So it also calls for strengthening the collection of use of gender disaggregated data. So I was really encouraged by the earlier World Bank, I think it was with Energia, there was a session that was held earlier where they talked about gender disaggregated data in the space of energy. Very encouraging, like, let's pick up on real levers that are happening and how can we bring it into and raise the profile of these initiatives, right? Because it's happening in a silo. We won't hear about it in a space in social development or financing for development because it's not directly related to what we are talking about. So it's important for us to really, be the ears for these kind of discussions and bring it to the forum that we are talking about. So the challenge now is to translate these commitments into practical actions across the energy transition, right? The moderator today, I think it was Adebusio, you shared two questions with me. The first question was how blended finance can attract private investments while ensuring that communities, women, and local enterprises become active partners rather than passive recipients. I'm not sure how many of you are must be, I know all the experts are very familiar with the blended finance efforts when, where it's an important financing mechanism for implementing the sustainable development goals. In today's climate where finance is so constrained, it strategically uses public or concessional finance through guarantees, first loss capital, and technical assistance to reduce investment risk for private sector to come in. So it's essentially de-risking. And de-risking, sometimes civil society really pushes back because many private sector, civil society and entities think that de-risking means more private sectors will come over and take over the global public goods. But private sector financing is crucial in this space. And so we need to recognize that it is here to stay. But its success should not be measured solely by the volume of private capital mobilized, but by whether it expands opportunities in this space for women and girls, strengthens local enterprises, and delivers inclusive and equitable development. So I don't know how many minutes I have, but I have a lot of recommendations. First one is design finance with communities rather than for communities. Communities must be at the table. Women, youth, local enterprises, civil society should participate. World Bank has an incredible process. We attend the annual and spring meetings. We see how much engagement happens with the World Bank. And so such initiatives, we recommend that the town hall meetings that you have with the civil society, such experiences should be replicated in other spaces at the ground, at the global level, so that civil society become equal partners. We sit at the table, we ask the tough questions, and we provide the recommendations for shaping this, because it's about us at the end of it, right? And so how do we do that? Second one is invest in people as much as infrastructure. Every energy investment should support girls' education, STEM, digital and AI skills. In this challenging space where the future of work is completely shifting, we need to better equip. To what extent are we talking about? When you're talking about in a developing country where a girl in a small school, AI is taking over the world, but they do not even have access to basic electricity, right? Or a computer. We saw that during COVID times. And so how do we make sure that when we talk about energy access, when you talk about skills, investing in girls, that it's true, meaningful investment in the capacity of girls to become productive citizens in the global, in the future, right? And so Let's all collaborate to make sure this happens. Financing, energy, HLPF discussions. So let's see how best we can talk about it. I want to say one line about my organization, Women First International Fund. We went through a major transition in 2019 because we felt we were funding projects we go to the most marginalized communities on the ground where many organizations don't even fund projects. We go there and we found out that we used to fund for 1 year. When we leave, those organizations are left in the lurch. Nobody else is funding them after that. So we decided we will stay with them for 6 years, build their capacity, we invest in them. It's a bottom-up process. It's never a top-down process. They tell us what they want and we fund. And we have realized many of our cohorts are improved. Now we have shifted to a 3-year cycle. It's very important. Flexible funding is crucial in this space. And whoever is funding, a funder in the room, I'm not sure if there's a funder or no, think about flexible funding. An organization cannot survive if it does not receive flexible funding. And so so when women lead, societies thrive. We have heard enough about it, so it's important to invest in women-led and girls-focused organizations because that's where the future is. Third is ensuring financing intentionally reaches, I already said that, grassroots organizations, right? Focusing on women and girls. Fourth, strengthen the collection of disaggregated data, which I already talked quite a bit about. I think, in other words, we need to move from counting connections to counting lives transformed. While financing is essential, access to finance is only part of the challenge. The moderator's second question spoke to that. Here, I believe where they spoke about, like an often grassroots organization about the financing challenge. How do they access funding? Too often, grassroots organizations spend more time navigating the funding system rather than implementing solutions. We can implement. We are on the ground. Our members are on the ground. They can implement. But they are navigating this process and it's such complicated forms and so capacity building, when you're talking about capacity building, that's an area organizations can greatly benefit from. Grants applications, investing in their systems, right? And so that in their technical capacities to navigate this very complicated world of funding access. If funding doesn't reach grassroots organizations, much of what we are talking about is not going to be accomplished. So, let's focus on that. And most importantly, I also want to talk about the final dimension. It's about ensuring a safe and inclusive workspace for women, decent work environment. And so I speak about the ILO Convention 190. ILO Convention 190 is talking about, it's about 60 plus governments have ratified it. It's important to get more governments to ratify. When a country ratifies it, the convention gets implemented. That means everybody's held accountable to ensure, the private sector, all the employers are held accountable to ensure that the government really delivers on its commitment. So look up ILO Convention 190 and see where it's getting ratified. If your country is not ratified it, really advocate to make sure the country ratifies that convention, because that can really change the space for women when it comes to a safe work environment. I think I will stop there. So I will just close by saying a just energy transition should not be measured simply by how many people are connected to energy. It should be measured by who benefits, who participates, who leads, and who is still being left behind. If we finance differently, partner differently, and protect differently, women and girls will not simply participate in the energy transition, they will lead it. I'll close on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was insightful. Thank you. We have two more speakers before we go into questions, because I would like us to be able to at least tackle some of the questions in the House. I think they'll be very interesting. And as we move on, I'm going to invite President Daniel Schildkar. Storycar. Yeah, thank you for that correction. I knew I was going to get it wrong, so thank you. To help us, add a little more color to this conversation, he's a Roma human rights advocate, an international civil society leader, mentor, researcher, entrepreneur, philanthropist, universal human rights educator with more than 3 decades of professional experience dedicated to advancing the right, dignity, and social participation of disadvantaged, marginalized, and vulnerable communities. He is the founder and president of the World Roma Federation and the founder and the president of the Global Roma Coalition. So please help me welcome President Janos.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great honor for me to speak today on behalf of the World Roma Federation. First, I would like to sincerely thank the organizer for this kind invitation and for giving us opportunity to share the World Roma perspective at this important United Nations event. Today we are discussing clean energy, sustainable development, and the power of local action. For the World Roma Federation, clean energy is not only about technology, it's about people, it's about dignity, it's about equally opportunity. When family cannot afford electricity, when children study in poor condition, or when community has no access to modern energy, we are not only talking about energy, we are talking about people who do not have same opportunity. Many Roma communities still face several challenges at the same time. They face poverty, they face discrimination, many live in poor housing with limited access to modern energy. Roma women and girls often face even more difficult because they live with poverty and do not have same opportunity to others. This problem is connected. This is why local action is important. The World Roma Federation believes that real change starts in local community. When we invest in people, especially women and young people, we build stronger community. When girls receive education and skills that become future leaders, when community with access clean, affordable energy improve health, education, job, and local development. It is good not only for Roma community, it is good for society all whole. The World Roma Federation believes that Roma community should not only receive support, that should be partners. Roma women, young people, and community leaders have knowledge, experience, and ideas can help build better and more sustainable future. The World Roma Federation is ready to work with partners to help Roma women, young people become part of the clean energy, transnation through education, local leadership, and community cooperation. We are ready to work together. We are a government that United Nations, civil society, university, and the private sectors. Together, we can create practical solutions, improve people's lives, strengthen our community. Let us continue to build partnerships that bring clean energy, equal opportunity, and hope to every community. Because sustainable development will only succeed when your community is no one left behind. Clean energy is not only about power for our homes, it's all about power for people to build better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll go to our final speaker. I think this speaker would excite Dr. Bath. Henry Mado. So we have a youth in the house who is a youth leader and United Nations advocate with a strong academic and practical foundation in human rights, global governance, and international development. He's currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Art honors in political science with a major in international development studies at McGill University, where he studies encompasses international law, conflict resolution, and peace building and diplomacy. Please help me welcome for his remark, Henry Mado.
Thank you, Ola, and distinguished delegates. My name is Henry Mado, and I have the honor of speaking on behalf of the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation to the United Nations from Montreal, Canada. This panel asks what happens when we stop treating women, girls, and youth as beneficiaries of innovation and start treating them as architects. The Girls in Energy Project is one answer. It is not just a mentorship program designed to make future annual reports look more diverse. It is an innovation model that puts girls and young women inside the machinery of the green and blue economy as investors, as owners, as the very people who decide who gets built and who it serves. That is the difference between inclusion as a value statement and inclusion as an economic multiplier. And this multiplier does not respect borders between the global north or the global south, it connects them. In a remote community in the global south, a girl trained to build and maintain a solar microgrid is not just solving an energy access problem. She is unlocking the health clinic that can now refrigerate vaccines, the school that can now run past sunset, and the small enterprise that can now scale. In Canada, my home, that same intersectional logic applies to remote and indigenous communities still fighting for reliable power and equitable healthcare access. This is not two separate development stories, but the connective tissue of equitable innovation. Estimates from UN Women suggest that closing the gender gap in STEM and industrial ownership could add trillions of dollars to innovation across clean energy, healthcare, and education. Thus, there is currently uncollected GDP sitting untapped in the hands of women, girls, and youth that the system may have trained but never fully empowered. Hence, SDG 9 does not ask us to industrialize faster. It asks us to industrialize inclusively, sustainably, and locally. More specifically, as a 20-year-old, youth are consistently called the leaders of tomorrow. But it's come to a point that it has now become a way of deferring us indefinitely. As Dr. Bass mentioned, we are not asking to inherit accountability in 2030. We are demanding it now because we are the only stakeholders in this room who will live with every compromise, every backslide, and every decision made here for the next 50 years. That is why SDG 17, Global Partnership for Sustainable Development, cannot be sidelined in favor of more tangible, metric-driven goals. Rather, it must be treated as the critical enabler of the entire 2030 agenda. Without capacity building, solidarity, and systemic cooperation across all demographics, the other 16 Sustainable Development Goals cannot be achieved. Partnership without accountability is just coordination. And coordination without meaningful youth engagement is the reason sustainable innovation keeps getting discussed in the abstract. So my ask is direct. Do not let the sentiments of this panel leave New York as inconsequential. Let it remain a standing reminder that youth are not just the future of sustainable development. We are the force building it right now, underpaid in recognition and overdue for empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry Mado. That was insightful, and thank you for that energy you brought to it as well. Now we would open it up to speakers, because we know there are questions in the House that I think many of us would like to begin to for our brain to begin to kind of spin when we talk about action, right? We talk about local action and all of that. So I guess my first question may actually go to President Peter here, and I might just try to kind of flow some questions across the room as well, because I want this to be very interactive, and the audience can also provide clarification or questions as well. When we talk about civil society, President Peter, how can civil society innovation be scaled into government policy and program to advance an equitable energy transition for girls and women?
That's a big question. I'd say that the need for more collaboration. I really liked what Anita was suggesting before as well, around these issues of intersectionality, not siloing so many of the things that we're doing. We talk about youth. We have to look intergenerationally as well. When we talk about access, equality, it all has to do with poverty, hunger. The ambassador, when the ambassador was talking about peace, I think that these are, there's no one size fits all. It's really pulling together various perspectives and aligning with each other. I think there was a history of this thinking of what's in it for me, and I really believe that we're starting to move away from that now, particularly given what's happening with the United Nations, multilateralism, global cooperation being under attack. I think we needed to see that as humans, to be able to see that there's an opposing viewpoint that requires that we all work together, that it's not about my organization, my country, my region of the world. You know, you were just talking about, Henry, the global north and the south. You know, we need to connect together. I'm in healthcare. We know the future healthcare workforce will be coming from the South. So we have to figure out what we're going to be able to do with that, you know, how to work together. So that's what I would say. I'm rambling a little bit, but it's really looking at the intersectionality of these issues and working collaboratively and cooperatively and not being so me-centric.
Thank you. That's insightful. Thank you. And over to my right here, Samantha. I've been actually waiting for this question. And I guess when we're, especially when we talk about, local action and, all of that, when we think about, I guess the question then will be, how can local action be strengthened and scaled to deliver measurable community development outcomes in the energy sector, especially in the underserved community, which is where a lot of our focus has been on, and a lot of people have spoken about today.
Thank you so much. So I want to echo what my esteemed panelists were also saying about breaking the silo and connecting. And so, I mean, for us at the bank, we also, see that the solutions for youth development in the energy sector is not necessarily only going to come from the energy sector. There has to be connections, there has to be engagement and collaboration across all sectors. And we're beginning to do more and more of that even within our own work, working with education, global departments, working with labor markets, line ministries, et cetera. So when it comes to, I want to share an example of how we connect, since we're on the subject of connection. And one example I want to draw from is SMAP's support to regional women in energy networks. I don't know how familiar you may be of that. So we support networks that aim to boost women's economic participation in energy. We do this in partnership with local institutions. The first one was established in 2019 called WePower. They're based in South Asia. And then this has been replicated in the Africa region, as well as the Middle East and North Africa, and Europe and Central Asia. So we have Renew in Africa, we have WeSee in Europe and Central Asia, and we also have Empower to Power in LAC. And basically the idea was very simple. We wanted to boost their role, but we also wanted this to be driven locally, right? So we didn't want to be the ones to be driving it centrally. And we developed a partnership engagement platform or a framework where we partner with local institutions. So these are utilities, electricity companies, training institutes, civil society, who commit to practical actions based on their own priorities and their own capacity. So they're the ones leading those activities. And they focus on recruitment, like good hiring practices. They have mentorships, there's internships, lots of STEM education to work, transition work. And we essentially provide the framework, right? So, the fact that it sits with them, and we provide the framework, the tools, the capacity building. We also do regional knowledge sharing. We have events where, or conferences where the different networks get together, right? And they learn from each other. And, for us, this shows that local action can be strengthened and scaled when, based on, so just to go back. So now these networks, collectively, there's 200 partner institutions. They've had tens of thousands of activities, hundreds of thousands of women and girls reached. And just in terms of a lesson learned, we provided the partnership framework, but we built on what was already existing. We built on what was already happening. So there's no reason to like recreate. And I think this really has helped create a ripple effect. So just to kind of build on that.
Thank you very much, Samantha. That's well appreciated. Before I go to, and we're going to go to the audience in just a little bit because we'd like to hear your insight in terms of intervention. So please prepare those as well because we'd like to hear them. But right now we're going to go over to the ambassador here. I know there is the peace aspect of this. And I think one of the things that you mentioned was, which I noted, was when peace thrives, nations prosper. That prosperity is what we're looking for. So then the question that I have for you, if you can help, shed some light to, is how can investing in peace building and mental health support for girls and youth be operationalized as a core economic strategy to increasing productivity, retention, scalability of girls and energy initiatives across conflict-affected and fragile contexts in the global South, which is where a lot of our focus is.
Thank you for this important question. There have many ways we can answer that, but let's focus on the global South. I believe we need to stop treating peace building and mental health as a social service because that's what we've been doing. We think it's a social service, but we need to start as an economy infrastructure. Because an entrepreneur cannot innovate if she's living in fear. If you go to South Sudan, no matter which girl, no matter how many simulation, who is she got on her mind, no matter how much in finance you give them, you can't give them money. They cannot eat the money if they don't have peace. If you go to Ukraine right now, what will be important for Ukrainians? A human right? You come to teach them, or tell them you're going to show them a business venture, a business plan, or innovation and AI. What that's going to do for them? They need peace. Because if we was putting the same emphasis we put on every formula, look at how much money we put behind SDG. But the underline was why they're 16. They think 16 was for government. By the time peace and security was not about government, it's about us, the foundation of our lives. I believe government should integrate mental health, leadership development, conflict resolution into national workshop, workforce, and education policy. Development banks, especially she work for World Bank, I think they're supposed to start doing economy peace assessment. I think they need to start doing that because when you do assessment and you track it to economy, you have a better vision of the country where you want to help. Because we invest in the mind, we unlock innovation, but when we invest in peace, we unlock productivity. And when girls are empowered to lead in safe environment, supportive environment, they not simply participate in the economy, they drive, they transform, and they help. That's what I think investing in peace building and mental health is a capital supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I want to just see if any member of the audience has any intervention. And if you're not close to the mic, please move to the mic. I do see President Janos over there. Please go ahead.
Actually, my name is Daniel Fabro. I represent the World Roma Federation with Janos. I don't have necessarily an intervention. I had a question for Her Excellency, the Ambassador, because it's interesting how she said that SDG 16 is needed in addition to SDG 17, because for marginalized communities, and especially girls, it's double the trouble, I want to say, when it comes to clean energy or anything, any of the SDGs for that matter. It's not enough that they're women and girls, but they're also minorities or marginalized for that matter. What would it take at the governmental level, institutional level, in terms of SDG 16 for these things to be implemented at the local and municipal levels? For example, in communities in rural areas where they have no energy sources at all, and in terms of clean energy, if the municipal level doesn't care about the people living in the outskirts, then how is it going to be transferred? How do, in better terms, how do these actions translate to implementation on the ground? What can be done better here at these types of political forums and side events? What can we do as organizations to bring implementation to the ground? Because as Anita Thomas also stated, that funding, I'm sure she'll tell you as well, funding is scarce for NGOs. That's what we do. We, at our level, at the higher levels, we have to spend a lot of time trying to secure funds just to keep afloat for our organizations. And so that was my question. Thank you very much.
I think.
Because it was like so broad.
Yeah.
For funding, let's go to the funding, because I know that's a lot of problem we've been having. The local businesses, or we don't say third world country anymore. We say there's global south or country which doesn't have the same funding. We developed some strategy, especially for the youth who say they're going to be leader, they want to work in government. What can you do for your community? Don't go global. Because when you have a cake, you don't start eating in the front. You see, you cut it, right? Sometimes we forgot, we see the big picture. I think that's the reason SDG was failing, because everybody was looking at the SDG. Oh, I want to do the SDG. No. The SDG was not developed for you to grasp on it. That's why they have a target. I can work in education. She work in education, but our target is not the same. That's the point we're missing when we talking. We say, okay, we need funding, but we put it like so global, so large, it's difficult to cut the way we're supposed to cut it. I work with local community to show them what you can do in your community. I'm giving you a simple example. I went to the Philippines, and on this country, yes, you have to take a boat for 4 hours to go one after Manila. When I get there, there was no job. The women doesn't have no job. But what they have a lot of coconut tree. And I say, yeah, rich. They say, no, we poor, we barely can eat. We eat meat once a year for Christmas or once somebody's anniversary. I say, you can't develop stuff and trade it between you and God money. Within a week, I put every woman on the neighborhood together, and I'm going to show them how to do body oil, deodorant, toothpaste, and shampoo and cream for their hair with the same thing they have on the country. I say, if you do body oil, this one do toothpaste. That's the way we can trade and make money and sell on the market. We don't become competitive. That's the way they have resources. Sometimes we're waiting for people to come and the Savior. They don't have no Moses, no Jesus anymore. I tell people that all the time. We have sometimes what it is in the neighborhood, what we can use to stimulate money to help our own neighborhood instead to wait. I don't wait. And my organization makes God's that motto. I don't observe change. I don't wait for change. I create it. And I want people to understand you can do stuff. You don't have to wait for a lot of funding. Start small. and scale it. I think if you start scaling it, probably World Bank or another financier say, okay, how you been doing that? Let me help you. All my program, none of them got the outside funding yet. When I tell people that, they say, how can it happen? And I've been doing that since 2009. You know why? We have something in Haiti, we say grass caution, quid caution. That's mean your own oil produce what you're supposed to do. Show the community to stop waiting for a savior. This is my thing. I show people how to put stuff together to get their own electricity. Because I work with Human Habitat and I was a Girl Scout, I learned my local trade, what I can have in my neighborhood to help my neighborhood. And if the funding come after, he's it. But what about the one who never come to the United States, who never know if World Bank exists, who finance exists, how are they going to survive? They survive. We just have to get a different approach to help people and to make them understand they can help the community. Because if you can do one, one can multiply. If you do zero, zero doesn't have no number behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those insights. Do we have any other question, intervention in the House? Over to you.
Thank you so much for this discussion and dialogue promoting girls in energy. And I would like, again, to express my gratitude for listening to young voices as we propose new solutions and hope to inspire change. My name is Caitlin Power, and I am a delegate for the Global CoLab, serving as the Equality Hub Ambassador. We, the teens who help operate the CoLab, create local action with global responses by coordinating projects that are designed for our communities while using digital communication to expand these projects across borders. While on the topic of collaboration, I would like to take a moment to highlight the importance of connecting girls all around the world to come together for action by creating digital spaces in which girls can take action together, educating and inspiring each other with global perspectives. What we hope to do today is connect and collaborate with all of you. As eloquently said by Her Excellency Dr. Bass, the future is now, with the youth now. As a growing NGO ourselves, we hope to work with you to help educate girls on how to best utilize online resources so that everyone may have the opportunities they need to build a better future. When we invest in girls, we invest in peace. When we invest in girls, we invest in the economy. We invest in climate development. We invest in humanity. But to do that, we need young girls to have opportunities and to be heard. So my question to you all is, how can we reduce the stigma around youth involvement, and how do we stop the minimalization of the voices of young girls? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That is loaded. That is loaded. But we only have a short time. But it's a very important question. It's a very, very important question. And one that I think, Dr. Bax has spoken about, the influence of the youth. And I think empowering the youth, whether they be within all of the system that we talked about, which I don't want to, I think those are going to be very, very important things as we move forward. And a lot of what we've gathered, from the various speakers today, and even the remarks that have been made, I think we'll begin to kind of look at that. And I think when we begin to fashion what that local action would look like, how we make impact, I think we'll begin to kind of have, I think the leadership and the forthcoming thoughts and insight that we need to be able to do that will begin to become formalized in our ideas and our opinion and how we move forward. I know I just kind of rambled a minute because I don't want to get into, and then we'll overstate because I know we're already on time. But what I would say is, in the absence of time, and unfortunately we can't take any more questions, but here's what I'll say as we close. Girls in Energy project, as you've heard, even the president has mentioned today, investing in girls in this way is one practical way that we can actually touch on multiple SDGs, from which we've spoken about today, whether that be SDG 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 17. And in terms of engaging with Girls in Energy project, and I know the screen has some information about just Girls in Energy project, we welcome the interaction, we welcome the collaboration, we welcome the partnership. This project is launched to help our communities across the Global South. We implore you to engage with us. girlsinenergy.org is one way that you can reach out to us. We love for you to be a partner in this project. And without further ado, I think it will be about time to close this, because I wanted to make sure that we at least put it at a wrap at 4 o'clock today. So thank you, everyone, once again. Thank you, all the delegates, the esteemed partners, colleagues, friends, and for everyone who has come from far and wide to be part of this conversation. We hope that you continue to engage with us, and some of the practical ideas and remarks that we've shared would be, we'll continue to engage. And finally, I want to say, I think capturing everybody in picture would be great, because this event cannot wrap up without that. So please, just give us a minute or two. We like to take a group pictures together. In fact, as we are seated in the room, anyone please help us take pictures, even in this format. And then we're going to stand maybe, back to the wall that way. Yes, back over there that way. And that backdrop, how could there possibly be a better backdrop to have group pictures? So we're going to have it over there. So once again, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. We appreciate your presence. Thank you.